Hi, welcome back to Make It With Kim. This is week 2 with emptying the freezer and doing a little bit of a modified pantry challenge. You won't see all the meals because I'm not always creative, and some of my meals will be repeat or super simple and super easy that you don't really need to see it. So I just took out some bacon and wraps for some breakfast sandwiches or breakfast wraps. And then for lunch, we usually have leftovers from the day before, but I did take out some frozen turkey, zucchini, and carrots, and I believe I still have some broccoli and celery and a few things in the freezer that I can make a curry with. I found a little package of pepperoni, so I thought pizza would be great. And then I took out some fish that my mom had frozen for me at the end of last season. So I'm the only one that eats fish in the house, so I usually eat that for lunch. This is some Greek marinated pork chops that I marinated a couple months ago. This is our last marinated pork chop. We usually eat this with either rice or mashed potatoes. It's actually super good. And then I got this big pack of ground meat. So this will probably make 2 meals. So we're gonna have sloppy joes on fried bread, and then we were thinking some hot hamburger sandwiches one day. And then we have this lasagna that I had pre-made and froze a couple of months ago, and we're going to just reheat that up one day when we're busy. I took out a pack of hot dogs and thought we can have some scone dogs one day because that's literally Andy's favorite to eat. So this is everything I took out. And for dinner today, we're just having leftovers. So I made macaroni salad and tomato soup over the weekend, and we're just coming to the last of it right now. And that's what we're just a nice, simple, easy to make dinner. The next day we had the lasagna. Now, when I made this lasagna, I had used a different brand of noodles that we're used to. So the noodles were a little bit on the soggier side. I'd probably not buy those ones again. I'm just frying up some bacon for the breakfast for the next day. I've got this pre-made hash brown, and we're gonna have wraps. So I cook those with the bacon. I usually just add salt and pepper and paprika to that. They take about the same amount of time to cook, and then I just added the egg and the Swiss cheese to the wraps. They were very good. This is the curry I made. We had this with rice and watermelon and pineapple. Today we're having, or sorry, this is actually dinner. So we're making that fried bread for the sloppy joes with the fried bread. This is my go-to bread recipe. It's in my brain. I can't remember where I found it online, but it's basically just 1 cup warm water, 2 3/4 teaspoon yeast, and then you're gonna add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and you're just gonna let that sit and bloom for like probably 5 minutes. This recipe makes 1 loaf of bread if you're looking to bake it, but we're just going to fry it instead. This is something my grandmother used to make all the time for me for breakfast as a child. We would have jam or butter on it. It was good. So I'm just gonna give this a quick stir to make sure everything is in the water and is ready to go. Like I said, it probably will only take 5 minutes for it to bloom. So here I am adding a 1/4 cup of oil, and then I'm just gonna add 2 or 1 teaspoon of salt. That's really to your liking. I added it to the bowl with the 3 cups of flour, and we're just gonna slowly add this to the mixing bowl as it mixes. I usually just do it in little batches because when you start the mixer, sometimes it goes poof and flour goes everywhere. It's also better if you start slower and then gradually work your mixer to a higher or a faster level. I did speed up this video, that's why it looks like it's going really fast. Now, usually I just add the flour to the mixer and then I let it sit for a few minutes, or let it mix for a few minutes, and then I usually go and just do something else and come back to it in 5 minutes. And then you get this, it just turns into a ball of dough, which is perfect. Also, sometimes it doesn't always come together. It depends on the temperature of your kitchen, the humidity. Sometimes I add too much flour, sometimes I add too much water. So we're just gonna go in there and mix it for a few seconds with our hand, and then we're gonna obviously turn into a ball. We're gonna spray our bowl with some nonstick spray, and then we're gonna put our bread in there to rise. Now, it was a little bit warmer that day, so it really didn't take long to rise, and I ended up sticking it in the fridge. This is also, I believe, the day I decided to make some pumpkin muffins because I found a can of pumpkin puree in my pantry. So we did double this recipe. It comes from a Wicked Whisk. It's a food blogger online. I'll attach a link to the description. I did double the recipe because it asked for 1 cup of pumpkin puree and the can had 2 cups in it. So I just figured instead of letting it sit in the fridge and go bad, that I would just make a huge batch. So you just add oil, white sugar, and then brown sugar. Now my brown sugar got a little bit hard, so I did go get a knife to loosen it up a little bit. It wasn't too bad. I also thought, since I doubled the recipe, that I could just put some in the freezer for for the future. We didn't end up doing this because the pumpkins were good. We ate them, but I also just sent a bunch to work with my husband so he could share with his coworkers. We're seeing, I think this recipe called for 3 eggs. So because I doubled it, I had to use 6 eggs. Don't worry, there were no shells. I'm just getting more eggs at this moment. Now we're gonna add in the maple syrup. This is not something that I thought we were going to use in this recipe, but it added a nice flavor to the pumpkin muffins. This recipe also comes with cinnamon cream cheese frosting recipe to it. We didn't do the frosting. I don't have any cream cheese, but I bet that would have been really good as an extra. I would have put some, actually, I would have cut a little hole in the top and I would have put some in the middle of the muffin. I just added vanilla and then I'm gonna mix it up. Now in another bowl, I did add the flour, the pumpkin pie spice, the cinnamon, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And I mixed that all together. Oh, there's the pumpkin puree. I did mix that all together in a separate bowl, and we're just gonna add that. Now it didn't actually ask for a lot of flour or anything like that, so we're just gonna add this in one swoop. And this recipe makes 18 muffins for regular, so I was expecting 36 muffins. Now, I think we only ended up getting 29 or 30 muffins out of it, but I think that's fine. I did pack away most of my muffin pans, so I had to do it multiple times. I think I did three 3 batches in the oven. I also ran out of muffin cups too. So for the last batch, a few of them didn't have muffin cups. I usually use one of my cookie scoops to scoop muffin batter or cupcake batter into the liner, but I packed that away as well. Didn't think I'd be doing a lot of bacon. So I just have this 1/4 cup measuring, and 1/4 cup measuring was actually enough to fill the muffin tins high enough for our liking. Now I preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and the recipe says to bake it for 18 to 22 minutes. Mine ended up going in for the full 22 minutes, and I used a toothpick to check the middle, and they were perfect. These muffins are actually very, very moist, and I think that made them even better. I would definitely make this recipe again for sure. They were so good. I think I have 2 more cans actually of pumpkin puree in my pantry, so we'll definitely make them again. Now we're back to making dinner, so I'm just gonna make the sloppy joe mix now. I'm starting to brown the meat. I just use the package of sloppy joe mix. All you have to do to this is add a can of tomato paste and I think a 1/4 cup water. In the future, if I have more time, I would probably make my own sloppy joe mix, because I think it's just a few different seasonings. But I'm just trying to use what we have to empty out our house. So I think at the same time I was also doing the dishes, but I also had the last batch of pumpkin muffins in the oven. So I've got a little bit going on. So I'm just cooking this low and slow while I'm trying to clean up everything at the same time. So I already finished the sloppy joe mix. I did a little bit off camera. I believe my battery died. So that turned out really well. Nice. It was a nice consistency. We're gonna do the fried bread now. So what my grandma always did was she would just take a little ball of it and flatten it out, and then she would put a hole in the middle. I think this is just to let the air that's underneath it escape. I'm not completely sure why she did it, but because she did it, I do it. So you're just gonna fry this in some hot oil for maybe 2 to 3 minutes each side until they're golden brown. I did speed up this video a little bit, so I do check the bottom and then I put it back, and then when it's golden I'll show you, and then we'll turn it over. I'm just gonna show you, I'm just making one, and then I'm just gonna make the rest off camera because it does take a few minutes. I think I ended up, out of this 1 loaf of bread, I made them all about the same size. I like them, I would call this about medium size. I think my grandma made them a little bit bigger, but my husband likes them like bite size. So if we're just eating it fried bread for breakfast, I'll make it bite size for him. But that one came out perfect. I'm just gonna plate them up. I think each had 2. I might have had 3, but they're very, very filling as well, obviously, because it's bread. And I just add a little bit of mozzarella to the top of mine. This is one of our favorite dishes. And I think I've got 1 more pack of sloppy joe mix left in my pantry, so we will be having this 1 more time before I make my own sloppy joe mix, which will probably be in the new house. So this is the next day, and I had my niece over that day, so I decided that it would be a fun little activity for us since it was a little bit cooler and we had a lot of snow outside. We went outside for a bit and then we came in and we made our own pizza. So instead of just making bites, like small little individual pizzas, we made one huge pizza. This is just the yeast blooming. We just end up putting bacon, pepperoni, and cheese on it because that's all I had, but This was literally the best pizza. And this crust, we doubled the recipe and our crust ended up a little bit thicker than normal, but it was so fluffy and so amazingly good. So to this yeast mixture, we're just gonna add some salt, some olive oil, and about 4 to 5 cups of flour. We do 1 cup at a time, just to make sure it all gets mixed in. I do have my niece helping, so she's counting and adding the flour. She did a great job. There's a second cup. I believe it was a little bit sticky in the end, but it wasn't too bad. Again, I'll post the link to this pizza crust recipe that we found online. I'll post that in the description. And here's the pizza. So I did bake the pizza in the oven for about 5-ish minutes just to like pre-bake the crust. And here we are. I just added the pizza sauce. We're adding the pepperoni. It had a lot of toppings. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had extra pepperoni and just ended up giving that to the dogs. So what I ended up doing, because I only took out 1 package of pepperoni because I wasn't expecting to make this huge pizza, I had to take out another package. But that's okay because it was literally perfect. That package had probably twice the amount the first package had in. There was lots of toppings on this pizza. And by the end of the weekend, when she went home, I think I sent her home with maybe 3 slices of pizza, maybe only 2, but we ate that whole pizza between the 3 of us. And here's the cheese. Then I said, make sure you cover the whole thing with cheese. And she's like, that's a lot of cheese. It was, but it was good. It was very, very good. And this is the last meal that I have in this video.